the day off with an icebreaker. So let me go ahead and get the poll up. The question is, how often do you allow your students to respond to one another in Flipgrid? So I'm launching the poll now. So the response choices are never, once in a while, all the time, or wait, students can respond to each other? So we have 3 votes for once in a while. Okay, that's good. I'm glad everybody's aware that their students can talk to one another through Flipgrid. That's a good thing. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the objectives for today. So today we're going to do a few different things. We're going to learn to remix and design Flipgrid topics that increase opportunities for student communication within the virtual environment. This can also be done with an in-class Flipgrid as well, but it works both ways since it's all online. Um, Learn how to leverage the power of student-to-student input when designing topics for students, and then use Flipgrid to engage your students, increase student voice, and then also grant opportunities for critical thinking and creativity. So touching on part of those 4 C's. So all of our professional development through ILE focuses on district priorities, the guide for instructional direction, as well as our California standards and Danielson. So it is our mission at our USD to provide engaging, innovative, and equitable learning experiences for all. And this Flipgrid does allow for that for all students. We also want to honor the individuality and focus on high outcomes for all. So this allows students to kind of tap into another way of communication. They may be more comfortable speaking to the computer screen rather than talking face to face. I know for me, one thing that worked really well were community circles through Flipgrid. Some of my students who are not as inclined to talk to one another in class in front of all of their peers would rather record themselves. And we really got into the heart of a lot of the students through Flipgrid. So it was quite interesting to see, but it also allows for student-centered learning. And then, I'm sorry, my slides are a little slow here. Also, with Danielson, it allows us to create an environment of respect and rapport. So that communication piece between student to student, even student to teacher, we want to make sure that they're being respectful, responsible, being kind and safe. So it helps them learn these skills while they're creating their Flipgrid videos and responding to one another as well. And then also establishing a culture for learning. And then the UDL connection is that they're using multiple media for communication. So another way to communicate, maybe a way that more students like better than others. So it's that whole kind of personalized learning type thing as well. It ties into it really well. So our agenda for today is just to review the virtual PD best practices. It's the same as Jesse told you last session on Tuesday. Same slide that we show, but just a reminder. Talk about why use Flipgrid, talk about the different ways to connect in Flipgrid, and then we'll also touch on student-to-student connection, and then how to remix topics, and then finally some Flipgrid resources. So our best practices, remember that virtual PD is something that we're still adapting to. It's fairly new. Be sure to give yourself grace. Choose a learning method that works best for you. You can simply sit back and observe. Feel free to take notes. Actively participate with the second window open, which I will actually ask you to do a couple times. So if you are up to it, please do. And then use the chat to ask questions. We are a really small group, so feel free to unmute and just ask away as you have questions. And then keep in mind, we're developing empathy for our students as they're still working in this type of environment as well. So why Flipgrid? And if you were with us Tuesday, you saw this. This is Flipgrid's mission. The mission is to empower learners of all ages to define their voices, share their voices, and respect the diverse voices of others. So not only are they able to promote their own agency, but they learn about other students in their classroom and their agency as well. And then another why is because Flipgrid is actually quite simple to use once you get into it and learn it. And your students will, I can almost guarantee you love it, at least those of them who want to be YouTubers when they grow up, maybe. But the students really love Flipgrid. Some other reasons why Flipgrid is a great tool is because it can be used to enhance and redesign instructional practices. It does allow, again, for that student agency, so that voice and choice, telling who they are, letting them reflect themselves using their own voice. It can be tailored to learning. You can tailor the learning experience to your students' preferences. And then also, you can create learning communities within Flipgrid. So let's talk a little bit more about connecting in Flipgrid. There are a few different ways that we can connect in Flipgrid. You can connect teacher to student and student to teacher, student to student. And then there's also something called Grid Pals where you can expand beyond your own classroom. So you can do class to class in your campus. You can even connect with another class on the other side of the world, other side of the United States. It's a really cool feature, actually. So, speaking of groups in Flipgrid, and this is something Jesse touched on a little bit too on Tuesday, but just some more ideas. You can create one or more groups within your Flipgrid. These groups can be considered as classes, or even just small groups. I know I've used it for ELD. So my ELD group had their own Flipgrid. I had it for my leveled groups. Each group would have their own little one, or even if we had like assignments that they would work on for group projects, we would create groups specifically for those groups. Um, so those are just some ideas. A really great feature is that you can duplicate topics for multiple groups. So you don't have to keep recreating over and over again. So it's really nice. And then all groups allow for co-pilots, which is just a co-teacher, or co-manager, which there's a little bit more information here for you. So it can be added to a group. This person can be added to a group for review. So they can review responses, they can add topics. This is really great if you are connecting with a teacher somewhere else, like another teacher on campus. Maybe it's your SAI teacher. Um, Maybe it's your reading specialist, somebody else on campus who needs to connect with that specific student and wants to do something with your class. So it's a great feature. This co-pilot can also be that other person on the other side of the United States or on the other side of the world or in another Riverside campus. So it's a really great feature. You can add multiple co-pilots if needed. And there's actually a link here. If you click on the image, the grid co-pilots in your slide deck, if you have it open, that'll take you to just a little blurb from Flipgrid about what co-pilots are. So moving on to student connection, I just wanted to give a little bit more, and actually we'll dig into this a little deeper in a little bit, but student to student connection allows for team building. It helps you build that community within your classroom. As I mentioned earlier, those community circles that I did with my class, it really, I don't know, my class became a family, which was really nice. Um, and those kids who just couldn't speak up or just would hold their head down, Flipgrid was just another avenue. They didn't even have to show their face. They could just record their voice, but they still were able to connect with their peers, which was really nice. Finding a place where you fit in, especially for these children, is really important. So that relationship building piece, creating trust, and then also respect for one another. And then back to connecting with other classes. So again, you can connect with other classes around the world. It's great for multiple perspectives. So how do kids in, I don't know, Japan see school? What's school like for them? Maybe they're practicing English. Maybe this would be a great time for a pen pal type thing, but it's a grid pal. You can practice communication skills and work on similar projects with maybe another class on campus, maybe even another class somewhere else in the state. And then also you can connect with industry experts using partners within Flipgrid. And I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit when I show you how to browse through the Discovery Library. I feel like I've been talking a lot already. So I actually want to get into a little bit of fun with you here. So, and I actually want you to work in Flipgrid. In just a moment, I'm going to show you a row of names to go ahead and let us start with our prompt. So this is an engagement strategy that we have. And before I start, I did see a question pop up. So let me see what it is really quick and if I can go in and answer.
Dr. Chan, do you want me just to read it to you?
Sure.
It says, if you're using it with someone outside of RUSD, would that change the permissions?
Oh, that's a good question. I know that connecting with your class, like your actual class, it does change something, but I think GridPals has something built into it specifically where you can communicate with other students outside without having to worry about that. But that's something let me look into that a little bit more. But I know GridPals was created just for that, so that it shouldn't mess up your permissions. It should be okay. So I will look into it though, Deborah, and get back to you if that's okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so for our activity here, I'm actually going to do a wheel of names with you, and this is just a random selector. You can use this to engage your students in all kinds of things. You could use it as a name selector, just don't use their last names. But let's go ahead and find out what our topic is going to be for today. So I'll click to spin. Okay, so in Flipgrid, if you would please, sorry, hold on. Jesse dropped the link in the chat already. If you click on the link, you should be able to open Flipgrid. Be sure to log in with Google. Um, when you go into there, if you would please discuss how you're feeling today. So make a short video on how you're feeling today. And we're actually going to use these videos again. So be mindful of what you want to say. I will say with your class, be sure to set expectations. If you're working with students who need sentence frames, add those in. Today, I am feeling X. I feel this way because whatever, something like that. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to work on that, and I'll see you back here. I'll be checking in on your videos while you're working. Let me know if you have any questions, please. So we have about 2.5 more minutes for you to record your video. Let me know if you're ready to move on sooner than that, and we can do that as well. Okay, our time is up. And I did see a few videos pop into Flipgrid, so thank you for participating and taking the time to play here a little bit. So let's go ahead and move on. And again, we'll use those videos shortly again. So thank you again for participating. Oh, sorry, I think that started my timer again. Okay, so student-to-student connection. Let's talk about how students can connect and what this does for us here as teachers. So when we want to connect with our students, first be sure to set clear expectations. And this will help foster that community building, the relationship piece, social emotional learning piece, the peer teaching. So the students can teach one another. That's another thing my students really enjoyed, was making their own lessons for their peers to view. And then that trust component again. When you set those expectations, the students just really know what they're supposed to be doing. And then you establish that trust piece, which is so important within your classroom. So I found this really cool slide on Twitter. And so I adapted it from a gentleman named Derek Beal, and it was inspired by Anne Charleston. But they have Flipgrid expectations that look a little like this. So be responsible. To be responsible, be sure to create a plan for your response before you record. So Flipgrid has a really great tool where you can actually open a sticky note. Your students can actually open a sticky note, type in what they'd like to say, and then read it from their screen, but nobody else can see that. I know before they had that, my students would use whiteboards and they would read their whiteboard or a piece of paper. So it's always nice to plan. My motto in my class was if you plan to fail, I mean, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So that was something that we always said in class. Um, but make sure that the students respond to the prompt, stay on topic. So another way to be responsible, make sure your response is school appropriate. So of course, that's a big one too. To be respectful. I put on here to like the videos that you are actually going in and looking at. So that it's building that community piece. Oh, I saw your video. It's a stamp of approval. I watched it. I liked it. Um, and then make sure that all comments are kind and intentional. So don't talk about something random. Talk about what you actually should be talking about. If it's a connection, connect, you know. Um, so here's the last one. To be safe, find a safe place to record your video response, somewhere where you feel comfortable. Oftentimes my students would go even sit outside or find a corner and record, and then review your video to make sure that it's appropriate. So just something that I thought was kind of cute to put into your slides as you present to your students what the expectations are. So I'm gonna actually live demo for you now, how to do the settings for student-to-student activity and what you may wanna set your students up for. So let me go into my Flipgrid here. And I will actually go back to the activity that we just did. And clicking the pencil allows you to edit. So going down here to the bottom where it says essentials, this section is really important here. So the topic moderation, this is just if new videos and comments are there, then they can be hidden from students until you activate them. Right now, this is turned off. So it's if I were to have it turned on, then you guys wouldn't be able to see any of that at this moment. And then comments. This is really important for that student to student connection. So you can choose whether you want video and text comments, only video comments, or text comments only, or nothing. So I know there are some activities where I don't want students commenting. I don't even want them seeing each other's. But then when I'm building that community piece, that's when I open it up for them to talk to one another. And keep in mind, some students don't like to record themselves. So again, they'll put their screen down, they record, they'll cover it somehow. So text comments may work best for those kiddos. So just having that little section for voice and choice. So definitely make sure you set those features. You can make your topic status active whenever you're ready. Set the date for it, and then these notifications are free for when comments are submitted. If you receive a communication for that, a notification. And then a couple other things I wanted to share that I would have on if it's student to student would be the likes. Again, setting that expectation though. In my case, if you watch a video, be sure to like it just so that somebody knows you viewed it. Students can also see the view count if you don't want to do that too. I personally turn this one off and leave just the likes on, because it makes them feel happy when they get a like. So, but these are just some other video features that you can edit here. And then when you finish, be sure to select update topic. So I do have for you another activity before I let you get in and play with Flipgrid a little bit as a teacher as well. Let me go back to our presentation here. Okay. So your second activity connects with the first one, and some of you may have already done this, you may not have as well. But I would like you to, in Flipgrid, respond to at least 2 colleagues. Even if you didn't record, maybe you can send them a little comment. I was able to pop in and watch one video before we switch back over. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at some other videos that are in there. The first one that I saw, the person happened to be excited about their day, which is really refreshing and nice to hear. Um, Maybe your day's tired, you're super tired today. I know I am. I had a long night with my baby last night, but it happens. That's new mom life, right? So, but anyways, if you would go ahead, please, and respond to at least 2 colleagues. You can use the text comments or feel free to record. And we'll do 5 minutes here. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, so we have about 1 more minute. I'm seeing some great responses. Thank you so much. Don't forget to give a like to the videos that you're watching. Okay, so our time is up. Go ahead and wrap up your video, please, or your comments. Okay, and so I'm actually going to take us into Flipgrid now. And this is probably how you see your screen, right? This is how students will see their screen. I love how I didn't have to give you any instructions on how to leave the comments, the video, or the typed comments because they're right there for you, which is really great. So you'll notice that your students can find these tools quite easily. Again, Flipgrid is simple to use, which is one of the whys from earlier that we discussed. But I did notice that we have some likes in there. I love all the little pictures that you guys put in, the emojis, and that you participated. So here's one of our videos, and it
Today, I
goes
am feeling
there.
great because I got notification that my capstone project for my master's was approved today. So I am feeling great.
So she shared what she's happy about. Again, that building community piece. Now your class, those of them who've watched this, know that Glaz's doing something exciting and she's happy about it. So they can congratulate her through Flipgrid or face to face. So we have Deborah here. Deborah, I love your little background and everything. So
Congratulations, you're one step closer to completing your program.
it's so awesome. Thank you. And then I typed in comments. So you'll notice I typed it in here as an educator. So the student will know this was my teacher who typed the comment in, which they already know because it's your name, but still it pops up so that they can see. So just some more comments. Really great feedback. Thank you so much for participating, everybody. Notice that she has some likes here. And then Clay can also see, and everybody can see how many views she's had, how many comments are there, how many likes. So I'm so glad that everybody participated. Thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and get back into our presentation. Oh, sorry. Okay, so let's talk about the topics in Flipgrid and how to remix them. So in Flipgrid, there is a discovery library, and I'm going to take you there in just a moment, but I wanted to let you know that this discovery library, if you've never been in there to kind of view it, is a great starting point for you. You can search topics and collections. This is a place where you can connect with industry, not necessarily having them respond to you, but actually going in and looking at videos that have been created that would be useful for your students. And then you can also remix topics to tailor them to the needs of your class. So say you find one that you really like, you can go in and edit it, make it so that it is one that students can connect through, rather than maybe just one where they're responding to you only. So let me go ahead and take you back into Flipgrid to the teacher view. Okay, so I'm going to click here on the top where it says Discovery, and we start out with some featured items. So Flipgrid live events. So they actually do have some live events here too. Fully moderated Q&A, join experts, authors, and creators and bring your students too. You can sign up for these events here. They also have Scholastic Ink books, So that's another great tool. I'm sure you guys have sometimes your students want to buy those Scholastic books and you may order them for your class as well. So maybe some great connections. Every day there is a topic of the day. This one is Can You Code, which actually really piques my interest. So as a student, if I have a group of students that I know like coding, or if I want to get them engaged in coding, this may be something that I share with them. And then the wonder of the day, what is foster care? Maybe you want your students to learn a little bit more about foster care. Maybe you have a student in your class who's a foster student and they've made it known to their peers. Well, here's a way for them to know a little bit more about maybe what that student's going through. The next thing is browsing subjects. So you can browse all these subjects here, which is really great. There are trending topics, so things that people are looking at pretty often. Here are partners. So these are the ones I was telling you can kind of connect with a little bit for your students. And if you select view all, these will expand. So there is a plethora really of just information for students. And you'll see like exploring Japan, baseball versus softball, what's the difference? Sibling interview, you know, kindness in our COVID-19 world, certain things that just are social emotional, some things that maybe even going on in the world, maybe they're learning about Japan. You'll notice that there are even some here in Spanish. So that's kind of nice too, especially if you have ELs and you're working with students who are in the DLI program. So just some information there for you. So I wanted to talk to you about also remixing activities, but before I do, I also wanted to show you, if you scroll down a little bit more here, you can search by filters this way too. So subjects, community, and then you can search for specific topics. So maybe you want to search for superheroes because your students love them. So superhero. So here we have activities about superheroes. So there's an SEL one. I like this, me as a superhero. I haven't actually opened it, but I like the topic title. So I'm going to click into it and check out and see what it's about. So it starts with, dear children, if you were a superhero, what would your name and special powers be? This is a great one for your students to connect with too. If they just want to share something about themselves, what they're interested in. I would like to be invisible. I would like to fly, whatever. And you may find that there's some commonalities and they can connect with each other, do something like this. Some pro tips for you. You can actually save your Flipgrid activities into collections. So if you click here where it says save to collection, I have one that says student to student here, so I'll go ahead and add it to that one. If I wanted to add a new collection here, I would just click on the plus sign, type in the name. So maybe I want to type in SEL for this too. And then just, SEL, and then press enter, and now it's there for you. So it's saved into the SEL. You can save it into both if you would like. So it's actually saved into both of my collections. And then I can add this topic. So you can add the topic either as an individual topic or add it to your group. So I'm going to add it just as a topic by itself. It doesn't really matter which group it goes to for me. I just want the topic in my library. And here's where you can remix. So it opens it up to where you can see the editing, just like if you were to create your own. So you may have this, dear children, if you're a superhero, what would your name and special powers be? And then add on something like, please respond to one other person and share something that you liked or liked about their video. And then you could add in those reminders of expectations. Remember to like the videos you view. So you may want to remix it that way. Just so now it went from just a student to teacher activity to a student to student activity. So it's really simple to remix it when you're adding your students in. So the way I added you guys in today was just putting in at Riverside Unified, and Jesse actually taught me this. So thank you, Jesse. .org, pressing enter. So now if I wanted to send this topic to you, I could. Anybody with this, oh gosh, why can't I think of what it's called? The domain. Anybody with this domain can actually access this Flipgrid. So, and it's only if you give them the link and the code and all of that. If you want to connect it to Google Classroom, you can do that as well. your students. And it seems like most of you have used it, so you're probably already linked through Google Classroom. And then again, I want students to respond. Let's say I want to do video comments only this time. I want them to record for 1 minute. And then you can add in, well, she already has or the person already has a GIF in there, so an image is there. And then go ahead and update your topic. So now this is saved for your students the way you would like it to be seen. And then if you would like to add it into a group, you can click on actions here, scroll down to where the little truck is and click on add to group, and then select the group you would like to add it to. So let's say I add it to this private group here, click add, and now the topic's been added to that group. But notice I could go through and add it to all the groups I want to add it to. So just let you know, it's a one-stop shop. You've got it all there. Let me go back up a little bit. So before we move on to the next part, we do have a little bit more playtime here. So if you would please go into Flipgrid and Jesse, could you drop the link? I'm sorry, I didn't add that link into the doc, but could you add the Flipgrid link so that they can go in as a teacher? And would you please take some time to explore the Discovery Library and find a couple topics that, thank you, Jesse, a couple topics that you may like to share with your students. Take this time to create some activities, keeping in mind that student-to-student connection piece. If you find somewhere it's just teacher to student, that's fine too. And then if you want to explore Grid Pals, that's in there as well. So you can do that, look through the industry partners, all of those things. But just take maybe about is 8 minutes okay with everybody? Is that enough playtime? Yeah, we'll do 8 minutes. Thank you. And then we'll come back here. And if you feel that you're done looking through it early, you guys can let me know. I'll check in with you in about 5 minutes. We have about 2 more minutes. Is everybody okay with that, or would you like more time? Is 2 minutes good? Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Jenna. Thanks, Jesse. I'm glad that you're enjoying that video. Okay, so our time is up here. I do have a favor to ask you. If you would please type into the chat something that you found interesting or something that caught your attention within Flipgrid as you're perusing through, or even anything that you saw or noticed today that you'll be able to take away. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on. If you have any key takeaways, again, feel free to drop them in the chat. Anything that you saw that you liked. Thank you for those of you who did. Ooh, what is bias? That's a good one. The discovery section was great. Yes, how to browse and remix or borrow and remix topics. Background features and what can really be done with Flipgrid for sure. That's great for those students too that kind of like to hide their face. They can cover it and add in those extra features, but still be present and part of the class. The great lessons are that, yes. Thank you, Jesse, for responding to Deborah too. I like that you used at in her name. And then also links to use while you're planning STEAM camp for 6th grade. Yeah, for sure. I've actually been pulling some myself, so definitely. So let's go ahead and move on then. Oh, I noticed some involve you to sign up through Epic to read specific piece to respond. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so Epic is a reading program and it is free as well. In my experience, students can usually only look at the books unless they have a paid version during the school day. But it is a reading program where you can set up students with certain books to read, or they can just browse the library and choose books that they would like to read online. So Epic is a really cool program. I know I've used it with my class the past couple years. I didn't know what it was at first, and they kept saying, "Why don't we have Epic?" And I was like, "What's an Epic?" And finally, we signed up for it, and it's a great little program just to encourage them to read more. Some of the stories will be read to them if they want it to be. It's just a great little tool. So we'll go ahead and move on here. So taking a look here at SAMR, so the SAMR connection, we always like to bring it back to how are we implementing things and what does it do to our instruction? So the way that we teach. So using Flipgrid, would we just be able to substitute the technology or augment it? So use it as a direct substitute with some functional improvement, or modify the lessons that you're teaching in the way that you're teaching them, or actually redefine the lessons that you're teaching. So take a minute to look at that and think about it. I have a poll here, or would it be all of the above? Can you do all of these things with Flipgrid? So I'll go ahead and launch the poll here and go ahead and let me know what you think. So where do you think Flipgrid falls within the SAMR model? And if you were with us on Tuesday, you saw this too. So it's a little different though now, speaking student to student, connecting that way, connecting around the world. And I see 2 votes for all of the above so far. I do agree with that for sure. I can see it fitting into all places here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on. We have another model here that I would like you to look at. This is the TPAC model. And what we're looking at here is which component or components of TPAC do you think you can address using Flipgrid? So are you just teaching the technological knowledge piece? Are you teaching content knowledge as well? Are you using pedagogical practices, your pedagogical knowledge, or are you using all of them or just chunks of them together? So there are quite a few choices that you can choose from. It's a kind of hefty Venn diagram, but go ahead and I'm going to launch the poll here and choose what you think about how TPAC fits into this. I mean, not TPAC, sorry, Flipgrid fits into TPAC. So far, I see 1 vote for all of the areas. I have a couple on there now. And really, there is no wrong answer. It just depends on why you're using it. Like, what's your why for your students? What are they getting out of it? Is it just a technology component that you're teaching them to use? Are you using content knowledge? Are you tying it into the content that they're doing in class? Or is it something, is it a way of teaching for you? Is it part of your best practices? So definitely it can fit into any and all of them. I would agree. It just depends on what you're doing with your students. So thank you for participating in that. I would like you to go ahead and just review our objectives here. So today our goal was to remix and design Flipgrid topics that increase opportunities for student communication. And I'm going to change intervirtual environment to all learning environments. Learn how to leverage the power of student-to-student input when designing topics for students. And then use Flipgrid to engage your students, increase student voice, and opportunities for critical thinking and creativity. So without further ado, I do have your ticket out the door, your exit ticket here. Jesse also dropped it in the chat, but if you would please go into ClickUp and go ahead and type in the code, or log in with Google, and then type in the code to confirm your attendance. And if you would please fill out the feedback. Any and all feedback really is helpful for us as we move forward and refine our presentations. And once you're all finished with that, that is all I have for you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute and ask away. If you need any support with Flipgrid, you can contact Jesse or myself through our email address and connect with us that way. We would be more than happy to work with you on anything that you need support with. And then I just have a couple resources here for you at the end of the slide deck, but thank you so much for being here. I know it's Thursday. It's the end of the day. You may be tired. I'm glad a lot of you are feeling happy and excited. I'm feeling both happy that it's almost the weekend, but I'm also tired too. So I understand. Can 100% empathize. So if I were making a Flipgrid video, this would be mine to you. But thank you again so much for joining us today. Thank you, Glay. Thank you, Jenna. It was good seeing you both. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you all for participating too and creating videos. It's always nice we have participation. Oh, Deborah, do you want to talk about it a little bit before